WWDC is coming up, and since I develop an app for iOS, I'm obviously excited about this. I'm not only excited because I develop an app, but also I'm an Apple nerd and I love this time of year. In this video, I wanted to share some of the ways that I prep for WWDC as an Apple fan and as a developer. So the first thing I do is I try and clear my schedule as much as possible. I try to set aside as much time as possible to watch sessions, to watch the main videos, to read a bunch of stuff, and to experiment with all the various new APIs that are out. Second thing I do is I try and tie up any loose ends I have with Sofa, my iOS app. Ideally, I can go into the week of WWDC with kind of a clear slate for the things that I'm working on so that I can focus on all the new stuff and how I would apply that to Sofa in the future. This doesn't always work out to be a very clean process. Last summer, I was kind of in the middle of a larger feature, so I couldn't really pump the brakes on that. But this year I am able to kind of clear the decks before WWDC starts. The last thing I do is I make note of any questions or topics that I have that I want to ask specific Apple developers. During WWDC, you have access to people at Apple, the developers and the designers who actually work on all this stuff. And you can go to them with specific questions, whether you are having an issue with something, maybe a specific API that you're struggling to implement or you're seeing a bug with or something. And you can bring your question or your problem to those people and talk through it. It's incredibly helpful, and I try and make a list of the various things that I specifically want to talk about and try and schedule those sessions as early as I can. This is kind of a bonus thing, but I just try and enjoy the week. There's so much information. It's so overwhelming with all the new stuff that's coming out, and this year there might be new hardware with the AR, VR stuff. It could be very overwhelming to figure out, do I need to do something with this? How would I apply this to either my app, or does this spark a new idea? And I think it's important to realize that you don't need to digest everything within a single week. You can take the whole summer and kind of make note of specific things that are either kind of catching your eye that you want to follow up on. So you don't have to figure all that stuff out within the week of WWDC. You have time after that. So like I said, the week of WWDC is incredibly overwhelming, but it's also really fun. And what I'll do throughout the week is when certain things pop up, I will just keep a simple note. It can be an Apple Notes or Bear or whatever notes app you use. And I just keep a list of things that are kind of a higher priority for me to look into right away, that I do want to look into the week of WWDC. And maybe I want to schedule a session with an Apple developer or designer to ask some follow-up questions about those things. And then I'll make a second list of things that are interesting, but maybe I don't need to look into right away. I can do that throughout the summer. Now, since I work on Sofa, I look for things that make sense for Sofa. I think it's very easy to get distracted by the cool, new, shiny APIs that Apple will share. And sometimes those make sense for Sofa, the app I'm working on, but sometimes they don't. And I really try and digest that stuff and apply it to the product that I'm working on, because at the end of the day, that's what really makes sense. It's not just to add new features for feature's sake. It's to make sure that if Apple does offer a new API or a new feature, that it makes sense for the thing that I'm actually working on. I always like to schedule time with the App Store team, but basically what you can do is you can schedule time with people on that team and you can ask them for feedback on your App Store page for your app and how you're essentially explaining and marketing your app within the App Store. And anytime I get that feedback, I always learn something new, something that I can tweak. And I just think, why not? It's, you're able to talk to those people for free, so why wouldn't you take that opportunity? Now, I do have a little wish list of things that I would love to see Apple give us as developers and as just users of iOS and macOS. I'm going to ignore the AR and VR headset. That it seems like that's probably coming, but I don't really have any thoughts on it until I see it. Now, here's two developer things that I would love. First is Swift data, or some kind of modern replacement or evolution of core data. So I use core data for Sofa to save everything locally on device, but then also use that to sync with iCloud. So you can, whatever you save on your iPhone will sync to your iPad. And it's great that that stuff works out of the box. A lot of it works really well, but core data itself is, especially when you compare it to Swift itself and now Swift UI, working with core data feels very old, and I would love to just see a modern take on core data built for specifically for Swift, for Swift UI. The last thing is around managing subscriptions, in-app purchases, that kind of stuff. I recently played with Stripe for some things, and the ease at which you could add a product and the product details and change, oh, I want this to be a subscription or a one-time purchase or whatever, was so insanely easy and good. And then when you compare it to how you have to set that stuff up inside of App Store Connect, it is night and day. App Store Connect, number one, is rough. And then configuring subscriptions and in-app purchases, it's just painful. It's confusing. It's not fun at all. So one of the things I've been doing for Sofa is advertising. And when I do an advertisement, I'll sometimes say, oh, you get a 1 week free trial or some kind of discount of some sort. I want to be able to say, hey, potential customer, here's 20% off, and you choose the plan you want to have 20% off. You can't really do that today within App Store Connect, the way that each product is structured. You essentially have to make a discount offer for each product, which is, number one, very tedious. And number two, it's just confusing when you have to offer that to customers because you have to give them a choice. Like, here's 4 offerings and pick one, like depending on how many products you have. And all I want to do is say, here's a 20% off coupon and just go use it. That's it. That's all I want to say. And today, from what I understand, that is not really possible to do. The next item on my wish list is specifically for, it's non-developer stuff. It's like user-facing stuff. And it's for the Notes app. The Notes app is awesome. Apple Notes is really, really good. It's just missing a few formatting things that would make me be able to go all in on it. I would love to be able to just save code blocks in there. I know you can do like a monoface typeface, but that's not the same thing. Being able to save a block of code and be able to say, oh, this is Swift or this is JavaScript would be excellent. When you have a long note, I like to use dividers to just add a little bit more structure and hierarchy between different sections of the note. And the hack I use for dividers now is I just put a bunch of equal signs and that creates dividers. But that kind of sucks, and I would love to just have a native divider inside of this. So thanks for watching, and if you celebrate, enjoy WWDC. See you soon. Bye.